It's movie time with John DeSanto and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to the bottom. He's gonna let you know if you should stay home or if you should go. Might even yell if it's a spectacle. From San Francisco to Long Island. 'Cause nothing's better than a motion picture.
It's Movie Time. It's produced and hosted by John DeSanto. Listen to shows and read reviews online at wcbe.org.
I'm John DeSanto,
And I'm KG Klein.
and this is It's Movie Time. Ken, a film called Between the Temples. What the
Between
heck
the
is that?
temples. When they're referring to temples, it's a double entendre, but they're referring to Jewish temples.
All right.
And this is a very sweet, very cute Jewish comedy.
All right, good. And so the temples also play on words, the temple of the head, right?
That would be correct.
Yeah.
It's, like most Jewish comedies, it's a bit neurotic, it's
Right.
a little looking inward.
It sounds like Woody Allen.
And I'm sure it has a lot of influence from Woody and the other great Jewish comedians.
And we'll talk about some of those Jewish films in our podcast.
In our podcast, yeah,
and-
the role that Jewish comedy
back
has
talk.
played in cinema.
But now we have a film that most people would not even know about.
Small independent film, I'll bet the budget was less than $2 million. We have a couple of very good actors in this though.
Well, you remember Asteroid City.
Asteroid City last year, we have the father playing the lead role in this,
Yeah, to Jason Schwartz,
Jason Schwartzman.
right?
He plays a cantor at a temple who is going through an emotional crisis period. His wife died tragically a year ago in an accident, and he's lost his singing voice, and he's kind of lost himself. He's kind of lost track of what he wants out of life.
Yeah, and there are forces around him, including some stereotypical Jewish forces, right?
Oh yes.
But apparently they're true. Yeah, I mean, like the overbearing mother.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh yeah. I mean, you would not see this stereotype in most Jewish comedies if there wasn't some truth to it.
I know that.
Jewish comedy is often a reflection on the life and growing up, and the stereotypes are all coming from real experience. I mean, they're grounded in the works of Neil Simon and Woody Allen.
Oh, yes.
And Mel Brooks to some extent.
Sure.
And there's a consistency to the way they portray the Jewish mother, the Jewish family, the neurosis. They treat being Jewish almost as if it is a neurological disease.
Well, now, did you go through any of this? Was your film?
No, I might come from a very different angle because I was adopted into a Catholic family, and it was only later in life that I learned of my Jewish background.
Okay.
But yeah, and I'm a Norwegian Jew and try to find another one of those.
Yes,
yeah, there's only about 1,800 of us in the whole world, so we have a very different take on it.
Okay.
Also, I am a Reformed Jew, which means that I look at the world very differently than, say, an Orthodox Jew would. An Orthodox Jew is going to be much more traditional, much more grounded, whereas a Reformed Jew is going to be a little bit more liberal. We were the first ones to allow same-sex marriage. We were the first ones to allow bat mitzvahs for women. So when we're very progressive, and when these progressive moments happen, it usually comes through the Reform movement.
Well, you're reminding me that our lead female here, Carol Kane.
Carol Kane.
Came from a long time ago in motion pictures, and I've even forgotten, so long ago I've forgotten the film that made her famous. But she's doing a great job of being the older woman in this.
She has probably the most challenging role in this. She plays sort of she's about 17 years, I would estimate, older than Schwartzman in this movie.
Okay.
And there's sort of a Harold and Maude kind of thing going on here. You know, it's a May-December relationship, but is it even a relationship? She has lost her husband years ago, and she just bumps into the boy that she had taught music to in middle school, and decides, I want my bat mitzvah. And then, just to be clear to the audience, a bat mitzvah is when a woman has a bar mitzvah. When a man has it, it's a bar mitzvah. When a woman has it, it's a bat mitzvah.
Now, usually she has it at age 13.
Usually, everybody has it at age 13, unless they're a convert. If they've converted later in life, they
Yeah.
can have it at any age. But this film is very timely, and as much as this is something that is going on within the Jewish community right now. A woman who was born before 1970 probably did not have a bat mitzvah. That really did not become a thing until the early 80s. And it started in the Reform movement that worked its way up through the conservative Jewish temples. But it's really, if somebody was 13 in the 70s or the 60s, they would not probably have had a bat mitzvah.
Yeah.
So she decides, just kind of out of the blue, she's a little strange. She says, I want a bat mitzvah.
Now, her parents were communist Jews, so that means that she was not allowed.
I don't know what
You
that
don't know
means.
what that-
I've never heard the term communist Jew in my life. I've never heard it.
Apparently, that's the reason she wasn't allowed to have it.
If that's really a thing. I'm going to put a question mark behind that. That may be something created for this film. I've never, in years of going to temple, I have never heard the term communist Jew.
Well, one of the things that I like about Between the Temples is that it's not heavily Jewish. Now, by that I mean we're very much aware that this is the climate and the culture that we are in. But it is as much about a kind of a reverse in our own culture. That is, you have an older woman and a younger man.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
becoming more acceptable. And with the population shifts, it may happen even more. But for young, healthy males in the American culture, for instance, this is a bit odd.
Yeah, he's probably in his late 30s and she's probably in her early 60s.
Yes.
So it's an interesting thing. But the other thing about this movie is it's very hard to define when or if it ever really is a relationship. She is learning from him, he's teaching her, but there's a connection. She provides a healing quality to him that he desperately needs, and he provides, I think, a sense of purpose to her that she didn't have. She had been laid off a year earlier after 42 years as a music teacher and was kind of hitting the bars and kind of wandering aimlessly, and she gave him something to focus upon. And you also get the impression that he likes to be a supporter. He likes to be the person who helps somebody else. He never really seems to think much of himself, and she desperately needs some help. So it's a good, she needs him and he needs somebody to need him.
One of the interesting parts of the romantic parts of this is that he is a very fetching young woman who is the daughter of the rabbi.
The
Now,
rabbi's
this is
daughter,
perfect. For
yes.
Jews, this has got to be just for heaven.
Well, and he's the cantor. His mothers, he has two mothers, are probably the top donors to the temple.
Yes.
So they're prominent people. And the rabbi's daughter, it comes back from being stood up at the altar, we get, and she is quite attractive.
Oh, I like her a
Yeah,
lot.
she
Madeline
is.
Weinstein, I think is her name.
Yes.
And I really would look forward to seeing her again.
I would too.
She has a purity about her.
She's very genuine.
Yes,
She
yeah.
can do comedy.
And she's a wonderful looking woman.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, one of the points of disbelief in this movie is you wonder why he just was not drawn to her immediately, and what he can possibly see in this much older woman that makes him go that direction instead of towards Gabby, the rabbi's daughter.
Well, Carla, the older woman in this,
Mhm.
expresses thematically for me the best of anybody in this movie. She says to him, I taught you, you now teach me.
Yeah.
So there's a teaching going on between the generations that I think that works in this film.
And I also do wonder whether she sensed that he needed a purpose at this point in his life. And that just went well for both of them because she wanted her bat mitzvah, just decided abruptly, I want my bat mitzvah. But I think she also sensed that he needed somebody to focus on. And by picking him, because she picked him, she said, I want you to prepare me for my bat mitzvah, which would be a 1-year-long process. So she enabled him to have a purpose
Sure.
that he didn't have when she found him.
Besides the fact that we brought this film to our audience, This film is worth seeing for the, I forget what they call that feast. The
Shabbat.
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 Yeah.
It has the most amazing dinner scene I think I may have ever seen in a
Me too,
movie.
I agree.
It goes on and on. It's probably about 20 minutes long.
Oh.
And as the whole film kind of disintegrates, the storyline disintegrates before our eyes. It's almost, you have to almost turn away because you just watch the connections all suddenly falling apart.
Oh, and
The rabbi's there with his daughter thinking that this meal is the setup for the relationship with the cantor. The mothers are there thinking the same thing. The Gabby is there thinking that this is the moment when he's going to announce that he wants to start dating her, going steady with her. The music teacher was invited. She doesn't even know why she's there. She's just very happy to be there. And then everything just falls apart.
And it's truly amazing. I'll tell you what I really noticed that I loved, the close-ups.
Oh yeah.
There were tight shots all over the place.
Practically the whole movie is close up.
I know.
Yes.
And this feast, Nathan Silver, the name of the director, he did something called The Great Pretender. I don't know. That's the only thing I know of.
Okay.
But he's in charge, regardless of who edits and so on, and regardless of the cinematographer. It's his call, and he's calling for close-ups to the extent that I've never seen it before, but it really made me feel like I was a part of it.
It's very claustrophobic.
Yes.
You know, they're all huddled around this one dining table, lots of people, and they all think that they're there for one reason, and then suddenly it just all goes left.
A variation of the, what would we call it, things are not what they seem theme. K.G. Klein, we do have between the temples, and what do you advise?
This is a cute film. It's a fun film. Don't set your sights too high. Don't expect it to be a Woody Allen movie. But it's good. It's very, very good. It's very rewarding. And if you do enjoy Jewish cinema, and of course we have the Jewish Film Festival here in Columbus every year, so Jewish cinema is a very real thing. I want to stress that. This is one of the few attempts at Jewish cinema recently as mainstream.
And I think it does a terrific job of mimicking the screwball comedy. And just as I loved it in Deadpool, I love it here. And maybe we're getting some more of it. I just love, because I love the language. And then when they spit it out like a machine gun, I'm just thrilled. I say, I need to come back to hear all the goodness that's spitting around here. So you have to go, our audience has to go to wcve.org, the podcast experience, and it's going to be Back Talk. And that's where you hear more that Ken has to say, who is a Jew.
We'll talk about Jewish cinema and in particular about Jewish comedy.
It's movie time with John DeSanto and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to